Hello, and welcome. This week, I am so excited to bring a craft that everyone is familiar with, but might not know a ton about, as well as having pretty strong opinions about the craft. I bring you an artist who crafts with a very different medium, mastering multiple styles and techniques, all while inflicting a little pain. You guessed it. We have a tattoo artist. I've always thought body art is unique because it is something that identifies you, a form of self-expression, a way to show love, power, meaning, but someone else gets to ink their craft onto you. And that definitely piques my interest. Welcome Chelsi Soleil Penelope, who shares how they create tattoos and the balance of life versus building a business. The craft has historically and drastically indicated ideas of proof of rebellion, to prison intimidation, to military dedication. And now, it is becoming more popular and acceptable as an expressive art form. I appreciate that she collaborates with her clients to make them feel physically as well as artistically comfy. She has explored other careers, including healthcare, but found her true passion with tattoos, and is even inspired by other art forms like ceramics. This episode was recorded in Missoula, Montana, and some time ago, and published now due to me learning how to edit and publish a podcast, so some info might be a little old, but I can hope that you still use all of the information to look up their work and your interest is piqued. I hope you are having a grand day, and please enjoy this week's episode I've titled, I've Done Many a Dogflower. Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome to Pique My Interest, a podcast dedicated to creativity. My name is Scoop Decker, and I am an artist. This podcast was created to learn about different styles of art and, more importantly, meet some incredible artists and explore their craft and how they create. I'm here with Chelsi, and she's going to introduce herself. Please, Chelsi, tell me about you.
Hi, I'm Chelsi Soleil Penelope.
And what is your craft?
I am a tattoo artist.
I am so excited to have a tattoo artist on Pique My Interest. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Scoop?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to have a tattoo artist because it is an art form that I'm not 100% familiar with, but it's something that I'm very interested in. Can you tell me what is your specialty within your tattooing? What makes you different than other tattoo artists?
Sure. Well, I specialize in black and gray realism for the most part. I also do, it's kind of like watercolor, but with black work. So like abstract black paint. And in Missoula, that I'm the only person that does that as far as I know, unless there's somebody else going on doing it now. I also really like to do custom lettering. Like, if I get to draw it up, that is ideal, but just lettering in general, I'm pretty excited about. I think that one of the things that makes me special is that I am a woman, and women are starting to be around in the tattoo industry a lot more these days, which is great, but as somebody who's been tattooing for a while, I was one of the only ones there for a minute.
Absolutely, and I can attest to your skills that you are a very good tattoo artist.
Thank
I
you.
actually have one of your pieces on me, and I love it so much. What's your background? Where are you from? Do you have any education in tattooing? And what was your upbringing that got you into tattooing?
I'm born and raised Missoula, Montana. Been here my whole life. I did do an apprenticeship. Mine was longer than most people's, actually, so mine was pretty extensive. I did a 5-year apprenticeship at Montana Tattoo Company, which is also a Missoula-based tattoo shop. They're wonderful as well. My mentor's name was Mickey Schlick, and my apprenticeship was longer because he also taught me how to build websites, and there was a lot of art involved, like learning things that I wasn't comfortable with, just so that when anybody walks in, you could do any tattoo that they're asking for. What was the second part?
What piqued your interest about tattooing? What led you to want to get into tattoos?
I have always been interested in art, and so I was always drawing growing up. And then I had a cousin who is also still a tattoo artist in Missoula who began tattooing when I would say I was approximately 12 or so, and it kind of opened the doors for me to see a woman in the field, and it got my attention for sure. And she is a phenomenal artist and just a really nice, wonderful human being. Her name is Sarana, and she works at Brightside Tattoo in Missoula, Montana. And I was always just thought she was just the coolest. And so that's what got my attention in the first place, I think.
Were you interested in getting tattoos yourself or actually putting tattoos on people first?
I think they were pretty synonymous, probably both. I was raised by quite a few heavily tattooed hippies and bikers, and they were just normal in my world. I never even thought about it that much. So I always was going to get them. And then when Sarana started tattooing, seeing her being a woman, being able to do it, I think is what really piqued my interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love that. I often feel that the tattoo industry has such a dark and aggressive mentality. When I look at you and you're covered and they're just beautiful, they're gorgeous, and it's such a unique way to express yourself. And I've never understood why it always has this interesting connotation to it about its grittiness.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a gritty job, and we always make this joke about how when you're a tattooer, how you don't actually have a real job. Like, you can drink until God knows when in the middle of the night. You make your own schedule. Sometimes a lot of the other artists can be pretty wild, and it's been that way for a long time. And it was really male dominated, and men do tend to have some grit about them. So maybe that's where it came from. Tattoos also being one of those things that were really highly connected with prison or armed forces originally, so maybe that's it. But I think that women bringing in their femininity is a nice
we're starting to see
move.
A change.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. When it comes to artists, one of the hardest things to discuss is being successful. As a tattoo artist, do you consider yourself successful, and what is success in the tattoo business?
I consider myself successful as far as the space that I live in. I was voted, I don't remember whether it was in our local newspaper or the Missoula Downtown Commission, but there's 2 different voting platforms, and I was voted Best Tattooer last year.
What?
Yeah. And so I think that I am successful. I have a full roster of people. My books are closed. I don't take new clients. I book out for months. I make good money at what I'm doing. So I think in Montana, I definitely am successful. There are different levels of success, though. There are definitely people that are known throughout the world, and I am not one of those people, but I don't know that I would be able to handle that pressure anyway.
When talking about different artists around the world, I've watched TV shows where there's artists who charge $500 for an hour just to get the most beautiful thing, and then there's some people who go out and get the $50 challenge and whatnot. Where do you rank yourself within the skill level of tattoo artists?
Well, I am somewhere in the middle. I charge $175 an hour to get tattooed by me. I don't recommend ever going to the $50 person unless they're an apprentice and you believe in them or don't mind getting an apprentice tattoo. But usually it costs me more than $50 just to do a clean setup. So if somebody's charging you $50, they are probably not being clean.
Or doing it right.
Probably not.
How do you start your creation process? Whether that be you creating something in your head, to a rendering, to on the skin, or when somebody comes in with an idea, how do you work with them to get what they want?
Yeah, the creation process is going to be different with everybody. Tattooing is one of those that's kind of interesting because I'm not often doing things that are my design. It's usually something that somebody else wants me to create. So usually that will be or involve a lot of them showing me pictures of styles that they like or things that they like. If they want an animal, I want to know what style they want that animal in. If they want lettering, we'll look at fonts together. It just will come down to really understanding them and them feeling understood before I will start any drawing process, just so I feel like I know that we're headed in the right direction from the beginning.
Well, because for my peekers out there who don't know, tattoos are permanent.
Yes, they are.
And so I know for me, when picking one out or deciding on what to get, it's a process for me. And I want to, in the past, have tried to get to know the tattoo artist, because if I'm going to be paying them enough money to get their art on me, I want to get to know them.
Yeah,
but I also know some people who are just like, blast me, like put something on there, like you choose, pick, like freehand, whatever you want. So tattoos is very individualized for each person, but I was just curious if you have any consistency in your craft with how you go about it.
I really do recommend getting to know your artist, because that's going to be, then you know what you're getting at the end of the day. You know, like, get to know their style, get to know them personally. If you want to spend hours hanging out with that person, that's something that you should want. You know, you don't want to hate the person and just be silent for hours. That sounds terrible. But I mean, everybody does it a little bit differently. The internet has opened up a whole new world for being able to show me like physically what you want. Mm-hmm. If you really like a picture of somebody else's tattoo or something like that, it makes it a lot easier for me to understand what it is that you want. Although I don't like doing tattoos that are completely based off of somebody else's imagery, it definitely gives me a jumping off point, and the internet has helped a lot with that.
I was just writing that down. I'm curious, at what point, when somebody shows you somebody else's tattoo and says, I want this, does that restrict your creativity? Does that block you from your freedom?
Oh, absolutely. I don't do things that other people have done. You could bring me in somebody else's art, like a painting or something, and I might work with that. But as far as somebody else's tattoo, I'm going to want to change it to be more my own. And if they really pressure me, I will maybe, and if the price tag is right, I will maybe do the same as somebody else's tattoo, but it will never get posted. We will never talk about it again. Like, I'm not trying to steal other people's art, for sure.
Gotcha. Do you do much freehand at all?
Yeah, actually, the part that I was talking about where I do like abstract black work stuff, that one is almost completely freehand. I don't make a stencil at all. I made a stencil liquid out of the stencil paper that we use. So I will literally just paint with a paintbrush on their skin and let it dry and tattoo what the paintbrush told me to tattoo. And that's pretty much my version of freehand. Or if I need to change something partway through, most of the time I can just wing it.
So what gets your creative juices flowing? I know you said you kind of just might paint on the skin in a random pattern, but is there anything that you do that gets your brain going?
Yeah, all very dependent on the day, but I do like to spend a lot of time outside. I like to get a lot of sunshine. I am also an herbalist in my other jobs, so I like to be around nature a lot and plants, and I think that I get really inspired by nature, especially greenery gets me going. And my daughter and I spend a lot of time outside. We also spend a lot of time making art together as well. And it's pretty amazing how inspired you can get by a little person.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever find yourself researching other artists?
Yeah, in all aspects. I research every kind of artist. I follow a lot of food. I follow a lot of ceramic artists. I I definitely follow a lot of tattooers. I tend to be more inspired by artists that aren't tattooers. I think maybe just because I spend so much time around other ones that around tattooers that I think that I get I'm really inspired by ceramics right now. So that one is one really getting me going. But I follow every kind of artist all the time. It's definitely.
Do you find that other artists apart from tattooing inspires your tattoo work?
Absolutely. I think that the abstract part of what I do comes a lot from painters and nature and things like that. And there are a couple ceramic artists that I have some of their pieces that have these beautiful, like, wispy paintbrush things on them that I think is maybe possibly even where it started for me. Just like wanting to be doing realism for most of my tattoo career. I just wanted to be a little bit looser and a little bit more fluid, and that's, I think, kind of where it came from.
And what inspires you? Like, what gets you to the studio every day? What strives you to be the best artist you can be?
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say money. Money definitely is a factor. I am a single mom, so that is one of the things that has to get me rolling. But I love being around other creative people. And the shop that I work at right now, I get along with everybody in there very well, and they make me laugh, and it's just a nice work environment. And I really, just love being around those people. So it's nice to be creative. It's a blessing to have it as a job.
Artists, man, they're weird.
They're weird. Sometimes it's really hard to be around other artists, and I feel really lucky that I like all of the ones I'm around right now.
How do you overcome a situation where you're not able to create something? How do you overcome a creative block? Or even working with somebody who you aren't seeing eye to eye with, they're asking something, your advice is something different. How do you come to terms with them?
That is a hard one. This job has been the hardest one I've ever had, and I've worked in healthcare. It's just, you don't get to make the art that you want to make rarely, just like ever. It just really doesn't happen. You're doing what other people want, and that can be really stifling creatively, where you don't get to create. And then by the time you're done tattooing for 8 hours, you don't want to go home and create something that you want to create. So that can get really hard. And trying to figure out what somebody wants and when you're not seeing eye to eye is definitely a hurdle. For the most part, I'm really good at communicating and we can figure it out, but I'm in the position where if I feel like you're not understanding me or not vibing with me, I can send you to somebody else, because I think it's just really important to like your person and make sure that we are doing the correct
for 8
thing.
hours.
Yeah. And I don't want you to get a tattoo you don't want, and I don't want to do a tattoo that you don't want, or a tattoo that I don't want to do.
Yeah, you got to share the same vision, and you got to vibe. I completely. Now, when you feel restricted in your craft, because sometimes you don't get to have that creativity, are there any hobbies that you have? You said after 8 hours being restricted from creativity, it's hard to go home and just do it. But is there anything that you do that can either get your mind off of it, or is there anything that complements your craft?
That is a loaded question, Scoob. I am a multifaceted lady, and most of the time after I've tattooed all day, I do not go home and do a craft afterwards. Most of the time we make food and chill, and there's not a whole lot of that going on. But on my days off, gosh, my daughter and I, we will paint for hours. We do that all the time. I love to practice different kinds of lettering, so I'll do that. I make candles, I crochet, I make Western hats, I collect vintage and like sew it back together. I do everything.
That's fantastic. So do you feel like doing all those is helpful for tattooing? Does it kind of just like refresh your brain a little bit? Or are all these ideas and whatnot, do you think that they're inspiring your tattooing? Or is it really just a complete break away from your craft?
I think that they all inspire each other. I think once you do something that's creative, it just gets, as you know, the creative juices flowing, and being creative is more of a mindset to me. It just always changes what thing that I'm creating. I'll just be on a whim and be like, we're going to dry flowers today. I don't know. Like, we just do anything. And when you're being creative, I think that it inspires all of the other creativity.
Say we're in the middle of a tattoo and I'm looking down and I say, this isn't going the way I want it to go. How do you adapt or change your creative process?
Well, if I'm honest with you, that has never happened to me.
Fantastic. You're good at your job.
I try to get all of the worry out of somebody before we get there. You can change what your design looks like 15 times, and as long as you don't change the overall thing completely, I will do that for you. If you need to tweak whatever, I will do that for you. Once we put the stencil on, you can move it 60 times and I will do that for you, and I won't get crabby at you. The only time that I will put my foot down is if you keep changing the design from like, I want a dog to I want a flower to, then I'll be like, you're going to have to pay me for doing these 700 drawings, but I still probably won't even get mad at you. Like, I try to get all the doubt out before we get to that place. And so I've never had anybody do that.
Never had to do a dog flower before?
Well, I've done many dog flowers.
That's in the middle of the process. What about at the beginning? Say I'm very nervous to get a tattoo. I'm scared that it's permanent. I'm scared of the pain. I'm scared what my mom's gonna think. Do you have any advice for somebody getting a tattoo, whether that's their first tattoo or maybe an upgrade to a bigger tattoo?
Absolutely. Being scared of the pain is totally normal because they hurt. Scoob and I were rapping right before we started this interview, and I was talking about how much I hate getting tattooed. They hurt me.
Chelsea's covered, by the way.
I don't like it. It hurts. I'm a big, huge baby. I will make dinosaur noises the whole time. Tattoos hurt. So that's normal, but I really just recommend you get the tattoo the place that you want the tattoo, and don't worry so much about the pain because they hurt everywhere. There's not a place that doesn't hurt. And the people who tell you that they don't are lying. So if you're worried about pain, that's normal. It's going to hurt. There are some options for numbing, but I don't necessarily recommend those either. As far as being nervous about a first tattoo, that's also really normal. It's a big commitment. If you're worried about your mom's opinion, I would say you probably shouldn't get one because moms don't usually like them, and it's about you and it's not about your mom. If somebody's really nervous, I have lots of things that I can do. I can put this, draw it up. Usually somebody's first tattoo is pretty simple, so I can get it all ready and then put the stencil on them, and then they can walk off with the stencil for the day and see if they like it. If it's not something they want, that's an option. I can calm people down pretty well. I have popsicles. Have a popsicle.
Okay. Say I decided I want to get this piece on my arm, and your advice is that it doesn't fit. It doesn't match the body part. It's not gonna look good. Do you feel like a client should listen to their tattoo artist, or do you feel like they should stick to their guns with what they want?
I feel like a client should always listen to a tattoo artist. There's a reason why we're saying the things that we are saying. We have a lot of experience with a lot of different ideas and clients and things that haven't gone well and things that have gone well. That being said, I also think that as a consenting adult, you can do whatever you want with your body as long as I give you the whole talk and you still want what you want. Most of the time I will still do it as long as it's not going to age really badly. Often people want them to be too small, and I will talk them out of that. As far as it not looking great in that specific spot, as you were saying, like on an arm. I will try two things. I will draw exactly what they're asking for, and then maybe draw exactly what they're asking for in a different position that will complement that space better. And 9 times out of 10, they'll pick that one anyway, because it really does look better. So,
I mean, you're the one with the experience,
yeah.
so might as well listen. Are there any misconceptions about your craft? We were kind of talking earlier about the grittiness and the darkness of it.
There are a lot of misconceptions about all kinds of humans, but at the same time, I think a lot of them come from places of truth. Some of us are really gritty. Sometimes I hear a lot about men not treating women clients very well. There's a lot of things about us drinking too much or being party people, or the tattoos people that we have, because most of us have quite a few, people saying that we've been to prison, and just being in general hard. And maybe in the past a lot of those things were a lot more true, but I think it's changing a lot. There are a lot more younger people getting into the tattoo industry, a lot more women getting into the tattoo industry, and those stigmas are starting to morph into different things. Like, just even myself as an example, I am heavily tattooed. I have a face tattoo, I have neck, I have hands, I have fingers, I have all of that stuff. I have never been to jail. I have never been arrested at all. I've never done drugs. I am not that kind of human at all. And there are many younger tattooers that are completely straight edge, or, all people are different. Some people just want to make art. And this is a way you can make money making art.
Yeah, it's definitely a form of expression for an artist as well as the client to showcase what their inner selves.
And a completely different medium. When you're doing a tattoo, you're using a completely different kind of medium and a completely different kind of canvas. And some people just want to explore all of the different kinds of art you can do. And this is its very own beast.
Not too many art forms come with T-Rex noises.
No, or moving.
Yeah. Do you have any advice on education to start tattooing for newcomers? I know you talked about apprenticeships, you talked about working in shops before, working a little longer than what's expected. What's your advice to somebody who's wanting to get into tattooing?
This will depend quite a bit on where it is that you are. In Montana specifically, how you become a tattoo artist is through an apprenticeship. But there are other states like Oregon, for example, where you have to actually go to a tattoo school. So it will depend on your state for sure. But as far as Montana goes, an apprenticeship is the way to go. And I recommend finding somebody who tattoos the way you want to tattoo. Find somebody who makes the kind of art that you think that you're going to want to make. Find somebody whose personality you like, because you're going to be married to that person for at least 3 years, and you don't want to be married to somebody that you don't like. So just make sure that you're doing your research beforehand. Put together a really nice portfolio, one that showcases the things that you're good at, and also one that showcases things that you're not so good at.
Would you recommend having a style in mind of what you'd want to do?
In general, most artists kind of already will. Some people are more cartoony, some people are more realism. There's a lot of stippling tattoo artists now. There are just so many different kinds now that I would recommend going the direction of what kind of art you like to make. And your mind might change as you're going through your apprenticeship, but at least the person that you are going to be learning from will have a similar art style as you and can maybe lead you towards something you would be better at, or just teach you how to do the thing that you like really successfully.
And I like what you'd said before with tattoos historically have been linked to prison or military, and especially growing up, I would see them that way on the street and just be like, oh, there's an old military person. But nowadays, there's this beautiful thing called the internet where we can go out and we can look up, not even just any tattoo, but we can specifically look up watercolor, these colors on my side. And there's 500 pictures will come up, and you'll be able to look at those and see what kinds of things that you like, or to draw some inspiration or bring it to a tattoo artist and say, this is kind of what I like. So I think the technology nowadays is extremely helpful for tattooing. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Oh, it just is. It's just such an amazing tool. You could literally look up anything and it will bring up something. And having visuals in order to draw a tattoo is just massively helpful. Even if it's you're Googling something that's an image of a real thing and showing that to me, that just makes my life so much easier. And I really appreciate the technology aspect, as you know, I feel like I started tattooing at the right time, made my life a whole lot easier.
Well, where do you see tattooing going? I brought up technology a little bit. My second tattoo, the tattooer did all the renderings on an iPad. I sent in a drawing that I did years before, and she was able to just go in and move this around, do this, and it was just on the computer, and it was just unbelievable. When I got my tattoo from you, it was drawing, and it was just paper. And so, do you see technology aiding tattooing in the future, or do you see the technology of the actual needles changing in the future? Where do you see tattooing going?
I absolutely see all of it changing in the future. As of right now, every tattooer that I know, unless they're like an old one, all uses Photoshop or Procreate to draw their tattoos almost completely. I like to function somewhere in the middle because I really need that like pen and paper time. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of my stuff on Photoshop, but I also still do a lot of stuff manually. But then I will put it onto Photoshop, and then I will perfect it. You know, the technology is really, really high in the drawing department right now. The needles and the machines and everything involved with the actual process have all changed within the last few years as well. The machines are getting lighter. They're getting quieter. The needles are being cut by lasers. When you do apprenticeships now, you used to have to build the needles, and people aren't even doing that anymore. I mean, some of them probably still are, but really just not that much, because you just don't have to. All of it is changing so much, and I think that it will end up being for the better. I think that every job changes, everything gets a little bit tighter as time goes on, and I think that it will be for the better. It is I do understand the part where it's like losing a little bit of its traditions, like building needles. Those things are getting phased out, and that is a bummer, but the tattooing industry has come so far just in the last 50 years, and I think a lot of that is because of technology.
Well, I also think that the bandaging and the restoration of the tattoos have gotten a lot better. You can easily look at a tattoo and say, that's at least 20 years old just because it wasn't taken care of at all. And the newer stuff, there's burn bandages, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. Tegaderm.
That folks are using to help the tattoo heal in the first couple weeks.
Yeah, the Tegaderm is amazing technology. It's helping heal tattoos so much faster and better. As far as tattoos 20 years ago, the skin definitely will age the tattoo as your skin ages as well, but the technology will make such a huge difference. Like those 20 years ago, 30 years ago tattoos, they were using a completely different setup than we were now, and I'm going to be excited to see how the newer technology tattoos age.
And you're embracing it.
I'm embracing it.
Fantastic.
Just as long as you make it big enough, then I'm here for it.
You talk about the size of it. Why are you against small tattoos?
I'm not against small tattoos. I am against the tattoo itself being too small, like the lines being too close together. Once again, based on the healing and the aging, as your skin changes, that ink is going to start bleeding together. And if it's too close, then you're just going to have a blob at the end of the day. And it's one of our jobs to try and make that not happen for you.
So what's your favorite piece that you've ever done, or some of them?
Oh, that's a hard one. I did this hilarious one on my friend Amy, and she got it like right on her pelvic area, and she got a bunch of plants and like where the roots would go into where her pubic hair would start. So, and she called it her vegetable garden. And that has to be a favorite. That was really funny. Really liked that one. I love doing any kind of portrait, so most of the time that is animals, but I did a Captain Hook portrait that I'm very proud of. That one was really fun. I've done a lot of animals, and I love doing skulls of all kind, animal or human. Skulls, yeah, I took a bunch of pictures of some skulls in the Paris catacombs and in like Kutna Hora ossuary in Czechia, and I did a whole bunch of portraits of those skulls, and those ones I think are pretty special because they came off of photos that I took and off of real human beings from the past, and that was a really fun project for me.
Do you prefer to do those smaller ones where it might just be one session, or do you like customers coming back to continuously add to a bigger piece?
I like both, but there is a lot of benefit from a bigger piece. That means I only have to draw one time, and then you just keep on coming back, and I like that. I love bigger pieces at the end of the day, too. I think it looks so nice to cover like such a huge area. But I like the small ones too. It just depends on the design. But bigger ones, it is nice to only have to do the drawing the one time.
What would your advice be to somebody getting an apprenticeship? How would they reach out to a tattoo artist?
After you have found who you think is the right person for you, they still kind of follow pretty traditional means for the most part. So you're going to go in and you're going to ask them, bring your portfolio with you always. And you're going to go in and you're going to ask them, and they are almost 100% going to say no to you at the beginning. So just keep doing it. Keep going back. Learn what their favorite coffee is and bring it to them. Or just go and hang out annoyingly in the tattoo shop. You have to show them that you really mean it, and that you will actually stick around, and that you care about this idea, and that you're going to try really hard, and they will respond to that. You're going to have to be a little annoying. They may yell at you, come back anyway. And I mean, that's just kind of the way that it is right now. You might find one that won't want you to do it in that traditional manner, and that's great, but most of the time you're going to have to just be really annoying to the person that you want until they say yes.
And what's involved with a portfolio?
Portfolio is going to be your art, what you like to do, what you're good at. Try and have multiple different mediums in there. If you haven't already done a tattoo apprenticeship with a reputable person, I would not recommend putting your scratcher tattoos in there. They don't like that. You don't want to tell them that you've been tattooing before out of your kitchen. They don't like that. But put your art in there. Yeah, they don't like it when you do that. Put your art in there. Put what you like, what you're good at. Multiple different mediums is a great idea, just showing them the different things that you can do.
And so what's next for Chelsi's portfolio? What's next for you personally?
Well, I am going to school right now. So I am tattooing a little bit less these days while I'm going to school, which is giving me a little bit more time to cultivate some more of my actual art again, things that I want to do, try to get myself a little bit re-inspired, and I'm just trying to become a better artist, feeling a little bit stuck right now as far as I feel like I haven't done the kinds of tattoos that I like doing in a while. I need to start being a little bit pickier about the ones that I take so that I'm really happy about it, and just like making myself a better artist so that I can be a better tattoo artist.
So the creative block question, you're still working on it a little bit.
I'm working on it a little bit. Yeah, I did this really beautiful black and gray tattoo a couple days ago, and I felt really great about it. It was beautiful. It turned out great. It looked like it was always supposed to be on the client, and so I can feel myself moving back into the creativity again. But I think I still need to work on it. I'm gonna have a little bit of an art summer and try and re-inspire myself a little bit, because
find your passion.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I gotta find it. And maybe it's not black and gray realism anymore. Maybe I need to start doing the abstract again, and really pushing for that, because I'm just feeling a little tired.
Yeah. And that's okay.
No.
As an artist, you have the right to take a break or come back to it, change, adapt your style and your craft. I think it's really important to be able to recognize that and take it all in and then see where it'll take you.
Art and creativity are fluid, and sometimes your cup's a little empty, and I feel like mine's starting to get refilled, but I need a little inspiration, and I think Montana summer is the key.
They're the best. Where can we see some of your work?
Absolutely. I am not posting anything on Facebook anymore. You can find my work primarily on Instagram. My Instagram is at Chelsi_Soleil, which is CHELSI_SOLEIL. And you will see pictures of my tattoos, my other art, and also me and my cute friends doing cute stuff. But that's primarily where you can find me. You can also find me at my shop Instagram, which is at Altered Skin Tattoos.
And how far out are you booked?
I'm booked out for the whole summer, and in September my semester starts again.
You can check out Chelsi Soleil Penelope's work on her Instagram or at Altered Skin. I can't thank you enough for joining me and piquing my interest about your tattooing.
Thank you, Scoob.
And thank you to all my peekers out there. Let me know if there's any special or unique artist or art forms that you think I should explore. Remember, creativity comes from the heart. Push yourselves, be kind to each other. I'm Scoob Decker, and thank you for helping me pique my interest.